This movie did not need to be 2.5 hours long. Den of Thieves is directed by Christian Gudegast and stars Gerard Butler, O'Shea Jackson Jr., and 50 Cent. And this movie is about these two rivaling gangs, really. The police and these bank robbers. And this police unit, led by Gerard Butler, is basically a gang, really. It's sort of like this really shady, like, cop, like, let's get some hookers type of guys. They're really dirty cops, but they even say in the movie at one point, we won't arrest you, we'll just shoot you, it's less paperwork. They're very not by the books, they're very, like, rough, bad cops. And then you have this gang, which has 50 Cent and O'Shea Jackson Jr. in it, and they rob banks, they sort of get money and stuff, and that's what this movie's about. You have these two rivaling sort of gangs that, one is planning this huge heist, and the cops are sort of like trying to crack them down and get on their case as much as they could. And I love like the intricate plot of this movie. It is sort of a weird movie where like Gerard Butler sort of has run-ins with this gang, and they can't really arrest them on anything because they don't have proof or anything. So there's just a lot of scenes where they're just together and they're just sort of like staring each other down or having these weird little like intense arguments. And a lot of stuff in this movie happened for no good reason. There are a lot of scenes in this movie that I felt like did not need to be in the movie and really served no purpose at all for the runtime, because the runtime is 2.5 hours long. It does not need to be that long. At max, this movie should be like 2 hours the most, maybe 2:10 if you're lucky, but 2.5 hours, it's too long. I had no interest in seeing Den of Thieves, of course, but I gotta say, I'm actually, I kind of enjoyed this movie. I really wasn't expecting that. I know it sounds like I'm kind of ragging on it with the runtime, and that's the only thing I really hated about this movie. But besides that, I had a great time with this movie, and I felt like I had a lot of fun with these characters, and I wanted to know what was going to happen next, and I wanted to know how these characters were going to end up, and I cared. I was very invested in this movie, and I didn't think I would be. Of course, there are a lot of dumb moments. There's a lot of stupid moments where you're just like, that's very dumb. This doesn't need to be in the movie, but it's there. I believe this is Christian Gudegast's directorial debut. I'm not sure if I'm mistaken on that or not, but I know he's written for movies like London Has Fallen, hence the Gerard Butler tie. And Gerard Butler had a lot of faith in this movie because this is like one of 3 movies that he's ever produced, and I'm sure he was really confident that this movie would do well, and it did do well. It did pretty well at the box office this weekend, and I think there was an interest for this movie out there, but I didn't have any interest in seeing this. I just saw it and I was like, okay. That was good, surprisingly. I was shocked about how good it was because I was like, this isn't going to be a good movie. This is a January movie and it's going to suck. But to my shock, it was pretty decent, and I can't fault the movie for that because I really had low expectations, and I really enjoyed the movie, despite certain complaints. This movie does borrow elements from a lot of different movies. I've been hearing the comparison to Heat. There's a lot of, like, every bank robber movie you could see, like, moments in this movie that have hints of that, and I do feel like this movie kind of borrows a little bit too much and borders on the point of ripping off some of these other projects. And I think that's kind of dangerous when you're making a movie like this, but they did a pretty solid job because the camera work and everything is good. The action is fun. I was kind of surprised by how invested I was in the story because there is a big chunk of time where there is nothing going on. The pacing is very off with this movie. I won't lie about that. But there is a big, like, from the beginning there's an action scene, and at the very end there's like the heist. There's like the whole heist. But in the middle of that there's about like an hour and a half where nothing really happens. Besides, you know, character work and sort of like sowing the seeds and sort of like getting you with these characters, and that I was shocked by how much I was enjoying sitting there watching it. There's like a scene with 50 Cent's daughter for this date that's gonna happen. That was ridiculous. I felt like the movie had a lot of unnecessary moments like that. Den of Thieves is a pretty enjoyable movie, and I kind of surprised myself by how much I enjoyed this movie, actually, despite the runtime and some of the borrowed elements from other movies and sort of ripping off other movies. But overall, this is not a bad movie, and I was shocked by how truly good this movie is. It's not the best movie I've ever seen, and I'm sure I'll forget about it once November comes around, but while I was sitting there watching this movie, I had a good time, and I surprised myself. So if you want to see Den of Thieves, go check it out. I actually had a surprisingly great time with it. Have you guys seen Den of Thieves? Be sure to let me know in the comments what you thought of the movie, and are you planning on seeing it after this glowing review? Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.